Alright, YouTube, welcome back. This is yet another episode of Commander Craft, and today we're making the nuttiest deck ever. Aha! We're making a squirrel deck with Bloom Barrow recently released. We're fascinated with squirrels, otters, birds, and all kinds of other cute little critters. So we're going to start with the squirrel deck because I have been promising my middle son a squirrel-based deck for the longest time. Since the unset that came out with a Camellia, I believe. He enjoyed the Game Nights video so much and wanted the squirrel deck, and I said I would do it, but there weren't enough squirrels, and then I had to order cards, and it just got away from me. And then Bloom Barrow got announced and said that there was going to be squirrels. So we're going to make them some squirrels. I have decided to do Camellia the Seedmiser as the commander. If you ever want to help out with these commander decks and these brews that we do, you can join us live on twitch.tv/Seth Cross on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. As we go along and create this deck together, there are a couple of very minor rules that we kind of adhere to. Throughout most of this, I am not going to be going just straight to this EDHREC page and typing in Camellia and looking her up and going just, here's 100 cards, blah, there it is. I feel like that's a little bit too easy, so we make it a little bit harder. We can go anywhere but her page. So we could go to the Golgari page, we could go to the squirrel page. I will probably try to avoid the squirrel page because squirrels are so limited that that's probably still too easy. But because Camellia cares about food tokens and squirrels are tokens and stuff like that, our squirrels tend to be token decks, we might do something there where we go to like a Golgari token page or a Golgari food page and see what we can do there. But we can't just go straight to the Camellia page or the squirrel page, just to make things a little bit more interesting. So we've added our first batch of cards here, and there is quite a few unique cases. Some things may not stay on this list, I will say that, as far as the untagged things. But let's go through the tagged ones. Academy Manufacturer, anytime you're making clues, foods, or treasures, you do probably want this in there. So whenever you create a clue, food, or treasures, create the other ones as well. We're going to want a way to make food, which will then give us clues and treasures so that we can draw cards and have ramp, and then the food will turn into squirrels. It's just a good time. Speaking of those squirrels, usually they're going to be 1/1s. I don't know how much we're going to have anthem effects in here to make our squirrels bigger than a 1 toughness, but now each squirrel is 2 cards. I like it. The Odd Acorn Gang is one of the commander deck pre-con cards. The main part that we're looking at here is whenever one or more squirrels you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Good card advantage for these squirrels as we make them go wide. The ability to give the squirrels the little +2/+2 and trample isn't bad, but I don't think it will come into play nearly as much, especially with it being sorcery speed. I see why they did that because of the trample. It could be kind of silly if you didn't give it trample, but either way, again, we're just happy with the card advantage. Toski, whenever creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It's also just an indestructible 1/1. It does have to attack, won't be blocking too much, but that's fine. What we want it for is to draw us cards. Chatterfang, if one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many squirrels will be created. Really crazy when you think about this with Academy Manufacturer. If you make a food, which then makes a clue and treasure, you get 3 squirrels. Then you get rid of a food, just to gain the life, let's say. You get a squirrel and then a squirrel. Not bad. The 3/3 walk also might be relevant. We could probably put Yavimaya in here and just as a why not right thing, because we have Urborg and Yavimaya here, so we could just have everything be forests and swamps. But Hazel is the face of the squirrel deck. Not necessarily a has to be squirrel based deck. This cares just about having lots of tokens, which I plan on us doing. So pay 2 life, tap it, tap X, untap tokens you control to add that much mana in any combination of colors. Clues, foods, treasures, and squirrels will basically turn into a huge amount of ramp at the low cost of 2 life. Then at the beginning of your end step, create a token that's a copy of a token you already control. If that's a squirrel, make 2. So it does kind of matter for squirrels, but it doesn't have to be. Like, you could just be a treasure deck, for instance, and this is kind of gonna make you squirrels as well. Squirrel nest, classic. Just put it on the land, and then that land pumps out squirrels every turn. Nothing crazy, but good. We already talked about both of these, actually. They are just tagged twice because they are ramp as well as Card Advantage and Nutty Creations. As for the untagged creatures, again, I'm not 100% sure these are all going to stay. Disciple of the Vault cares about artifacts being put into the graveyard to make an opponent lose 1 life. The food, the clues, and the treasures, because we are going to focus a little bit on food, we are going to be having artifacts put into the graveyard. I just don't want to focus too hard on this. I like it just in case for here. It's also one particular opponent. I would prefer for these effects to be all opponents, but we'll see how it goes as we fill out the rest of the deck. This one may come out. Marionette Apprentice, probably not coming out because this is whenever another creature or artifact you control is put to the graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. That's what I was talking about, where I would prefer it to be like a global effect. I want everybody to lose a life at the same time. And the fact that it cares about creatures, whereas we were just talking about squirrels, and with the Skull Clamp making our squirrels die and give us 2 cards, now we're also pinging people, and I just think that that's a little bit better. In addition to like the food, the clues, the treasures going to the graveyard will also trigger. Marionette Master is another one that may or may not stay in. I know that's kind of weird coming from me. I absolutely love Marionette Master. It's one of my favorite cards of all time. But it is target opponent losing life, and it is only artifacts. So we'll see. Then Nadir's Nightblade. This is going to stay in there no matter what. And I just thought of another one that's probably going to go in here and stay in here. Whenever a token you control leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses life and you gain a life. Again, global. More vague than just artifact or just creature, or even just artifact and creature. It's any kind of token. It could be token enchantments. I don't know. And then for that card that is also going to be going in here, let's do those Mirkwood Bats, because it's whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. Again, super vague. It's going to work a lot with what we're doing as far as token strategies, and it hurts everybody. That's what we want to do. We want to hurt all our friends equally at the same time. Next batch of 10 cards has been added, and we have some unique ones. We have Ravenous Scroll over here, where every time you sacrifice an artifact or a creature, it gets a counter, but it also has a means to sacrifice an artifact and creature for card advantage. We like that. Species Specialist, any deck that is typo based and you want creatures of that type to go to the graveyard, or you just think they will because people are going to kill them, you put this in. You name that type. You have creatures of that type go to your graveyard, and then you draw cards. Chitter Spitter over here will just allow you to sacrifice a token to put acorn counters on it, and then you can still just poop out squirrels. It's kind of like a squirrel nest, but it is an anthem effect. It will kind of not work with our Skull Clamp idea, but that's okay. Not everything has to go 100% together all the time. Circle of Dreams Druid is just Gaia's Cradle on legs, and we plan on having lots of tokens, so that seems like a good idea. Jaheira, additionally, all of our tokens can become mana dorks, so that means our treasures no longer have to sacrifice themselves, our foods no longer have to sacrifice themselves, although they will in order for us to make squirrels. The squirrels themselves will become mana dorks, and the clues, even if they sit there and do nothing except never draw us cards, they'll still be mana dorks. That's pretty cool. Peregrine Took. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, put those tokens plus a food, and then 3 foods to draw a card. 3 foods, draw a card, make a squirrel with Camellia out. Again, seems pretty good. Then we have Scurry Oak over here. This is an older evolve card. Whenever you put counters on it, you make a squirrel. Now, how often will you be evolving it? I'm not 100% sure, but if we have anything else in here that just kind of puts one counters, the one counters don't have to come from evolving it. We just have to put counters on it in some way, shape, or form. And then I've heard of this card that's kind of okay with decks that care about like a creature type. I don't think it's all that great, but people keep telling me to put it in decks. It's this dumb roaming throne golem thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I heard it's an okay card. You name squirrel when it comes down, and then all of your squirrel triggered abilities get doubled. That means that Camellia, when an artifact gets sacrificed, Toski, when creature hits, Acorn Gang, when they have squirrels hit, etc., etc. All these things are going to get doubled with the Roaming Throne. So it is actually a very good card. The joke is that card's almost too good, as it's $33. Okay, next batch of cards has been added. We have Dockside Chef, turning your artifacts and your squirrels, turns your food, artifacts, and your animals into card advantage. You can eat your food, you can eat your squirrels. I don't make the rules. I don't know what to tell you. Speaking of your food and your meat, that's a weird thing to say. I feel weird now. Greta, Sweet Tooth Scourge, enters with a food. That's why we didn't put her in cooks, because she does not make multiple foods. However, she does turn the food into card advantage with that bottom ability. You can also put the 1/1 counters. We were talking before about the one squirrel that, like, as it gets counters, it makes squirrels. So you could sack a food to make a squirrel with Camellia to put a counter on that squirrel to make a squirrel. Savvy Hunter, gonna be killing some stuff, hopefully with blocking and attacking in order to make food, and then you can turn that food into card advantage. We did also put this into the cooks because it's a more consistent way of making food. Gilded Goose itself enters the battlefield, makes a food, and then you can create foods consistently. That's why it's in cooks, and you can sacrifice those food for mana. So instead of needing 2 mana in order to gain 3 life to have a food go to the graveyard so that other things happen, you just use the food to turn into mana, which allows you to do other things. Many Partings is a simple, just search for a basic land, put it in your hand and shuffle, but it makes a food. It's nothing super crazy, but when you are not relying on, when you have food synergies in a deck, I think small things like this can kind of be really good while they're still enabling you to do your deck. Knight of Sweet's Revenge enters the battlefield and makes a food token, then all your foods become mana rocks, essentially. And that ending ability where you sacrifice a whole bunch of food... Oh, I'm sorry, you don't sacrifice them, you sacrifice Knight of Sweet's Revenge, and then everything gets +X, where X is the number of foods. That's pretty cool. Nuka-Cola Vending Machine, I don't know a lot about Fallout, but I do know that this makes food, and then those food do become treasure tokens. And Tireless Provisioner, whenever you play a land, you get a food or a treasure token. With Academy Manufacturer, you can get all 3. Typically, you'll probably want the food, but who knows? It depends on the strategy and the situation and everything like that. We already had Peregrine Took over here making food, but now we also have Pippin, Warden of Isengard, where he can make foods consistently throughout the turn. We're not going to be able to pair him up with Mary because Mary does have white, and we're not having Abzan in the deck, but the ability to also sacrifice the food and give everything +2 Blister and Haste is pretty cool. Witch's Oven is a very known combo-y card, but this time we're not going to be cooking cats, we're cooking squirrels. Sacrifice a squirrel, basically. Create a food token. Sometimes the squirrels will have toughness over 4 to get the second food, but if not, we're just trying to turn squirrels into food, foods into squirrels. Yet another batch has been added. Said that really loud, I apologize. We added Sign of Blood because it's signature spell. If this were Oathbreaker, I would only be running Black Planeswalkers and they would always have Sign of Blood. Just saying. I just like the card. It's just, if I'm ever at 2 life, I'm out of this game, and I've done it before. We added all of our interaction spells: Assassin's Trophy, Beast Within, Crossing Griff, and Putrefy are our targeted removal. Covers a wide range of things. Any permanent. This is Artifact or Enchantment, and then this is Artifact or Creature. And then Swarmyard Massacre, where you create squirrels, and then everything that basically isn't a squirrel, or insect, rat, spider, gets -1/-1 for each squirrel that you have. Very often will be kind of a one-sided board wipe. We'll lose some of our own stuff. We do have a lot of non-squirrels. It's unfortunate. But in order to raise a kingdom of nutty characters, something. I don't know how that ends. We did put Lightning Greaves in here, just so that if we have a special squirrel that we don't want to die, we put Lightning Greaves on it. I usually debate going between Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, depending on, am I going to target this creature enough to where the Shroud is going to mess me up? I don't see that in this deck so much. I don't think we really have any targeting our own stuff too much, so I think the Shroud is going to be fine. Agent of the Iron Throne, we completely forgot about this one when we were talking about like those little effects that deal damage or gain life, blah blah blah. This gives our commander whenever an artifact or creature you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses life. Not bad. Heroic Intervention, just for when people are trying to board wipe us, we can try to keep our squirrely family happy. And then Triumph of the Hordes, because the game has to end, and Infect is not unfair, get over yourself. Now, with another batch, we have added quite a few Nutty Creationists. We've also added Shamanic Revelation, because we're going to have a lot of squirrels, so we want to draw a lot of cards. We added another removal spell in Spider Food. Destroy up to one target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying in order to create a food token. It's just thematic to what we're doing. It's sorcery speed, so it's not as amazing as some of our other removal spells, but again, thematic, so, you know. For Nutty Creations, we have Acorn Harvest, makes 2 squirrels, and you can flash it back. Chatter of the Squirrel makes a squirrel, and you can flash it back. Chatter Storm, I was originally avoiding, because I did not think we were going to storm off necessarily, but we've put in so many things where like we can generate massive amounts of mana. As long as we have a decent amount of cards in our hand, we could potentially actually have quite a few squirrels come in with a Squirrel Storm. I also originally avoided Cloakwood Hermit because I did not think that we were going to be either milling ourselves or just sacrificing our stuff enough for creature cards specifically to go into your graveyard. Not tokens, creature cards, but it can just sit there and do some occasional stuff. I think it's good enough, and the fact that it gives you 2 squirrels, I think that is pretty cool. The Nut Collector at your upkeep can make squirrels. I, again, avoided this one at first because I didn't want to buff my squirrels, knowing that things like Skull Clamp were in the deck, but we've done a few other things that have Anthem effects, so why not just put this in there? Underworld Hermit is a Devotion to Black style card where you're just making squirrels equal to your Devotion to Black. Growing Rites of Ilmok in here. It helps you find more creatures, and then when it flips over, it does turn into another Gaia's Cradle effect. Like I said, we're finding ways to make tons and tons of mana, so hopefully that Chatterstorm, Squirrel Storm will indeed be a storm. And then probably my favorite addition into Magic ever. Look at the bunnies! I know it's not squirrels, but they're so cute! I love it! Look at the bunnies! Oh, they're adorable. I love them. I love them! Last batch of non-lands, and I have no idea what we put in, to be perfectly honest with you. We did put in Honor Dread Leader. This is basically just a really big creature with the amount of squirrels and foods that we're going to have. We put in Adept, which will allow us to cast things from our graveyard by foraging, which foraging is exiling things from the graveyard in addition to paying its cost. It also brings with a finality counter, so that's kind of iffy because if anything dies with a finality counter, it is exiled instead of it dying again. We're not doing a lot of counter manipulation, so we're not really finding ways to take them off, so it's a little bit iffy, but I mean, it's okay. Valley Rock Collar will, whenever it attacks, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of squirrels. Just squirrels. I suddenly realized a little bit late in the game that Camellia also is putting counters on creatures with the last ability that she has, the 2 forage, put a 1/1 counter on all squirrels you control. Considering that we are doing tokens and apparently a little bit of counters, we didn't put a doubling season in this deck. What are we even doing with our lives? So now we are. So we can double up on squirrels and double up on the counters on the squirrels. Additionally, Hardened Scales is a 1 mana enchantment that basically does double the counters that Camellia is trying to put on. She puts a 1/1 counter on everything. This says you put that many +1, so 1 + 1 is 2. That means doubled. Trade Keeper enters the battlefield, makes some squirrels, and then can give squirrels a buff. The Menace is redundant with Camellia, but in case Camellia isn't around anymore, it does also help. Or we could just dump mana, which we have said before that we may have a lot of mana, into this ability just to make it even easier to kill people. I had no idea that Verdant Command apparently does make squirrels. But hey, guess what? This makes squirrels. Put it in the deck. Bacon to a Pie isn't, again, the best removal spell. It's 4 mana. It is at least at instant speed, and it's no, like, destroy, like, target non-black or non-artifact creature, and you get a food token out of it. The food token is just thematic. Maybe not the most cost-effective, but I thought it was cute. We put it in the deck. I originally did not put Deep Forest Hermit into the deck because of the Vanishing 3, but overall you're paying 5 mana to get 5 bodies and essentially 10 power for at least 2 turns because we're not going to have a huge amount of haste in the deck. So I think it's good enough. Worst comes to worst, the squirrels stay around, so even if you don't get to do anything with the Hermit, it is what it is. Plus this is also assuming that that's the only creatures we have on the field. If we already have tons of squirrels on the field, that +1/+1 might add up to a lot more than just 10 power. I've decided to put all of the lands in at once. I'm not going to go over every single one because some of these are just obvious. Cabal Coffers because we are running Urborg, Yavimaya is in there, so we will always have swamps, we will always have forests. Beseju is removal, Pajuka Bog is card, or Grave Hate. Gingerbread Cabin makes a food, Mudflat Village can bring back a squirrel. Oran Reef, the Vast Wood, can put counters on all of our green creatures, aka our squirrel tokens. Oak Hollow Village can also put counters on all of our squirrels that have entered this turn. Stormyard can regenerate. Path of Ancestry for when we cast other squirrels. The Shire can make food. 3 Tree City is again, it's kind of like a Gaia's Cradle. And Witch's Cottage can bring a creature back to the top of our library. Everything else is for colors or just other like minor effects. Don't have to go through all these. The list will be in the video description, so you can always go down there and look at them. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will tell you why I did or did not put a land in. I will warn you, some of my responses for why didn't you put my favorite land into your deck, I may not know that it was there. It is what it is. My favorite thing to do at the end of these videos, though, is we go into the playtester. So we're going to scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Where is it? Playtest. Alright, opening hand, opening hand, opening hand. We have... Not great. One thing that I like to do with these hands that are not great, is playing it out. Could I survive with a bad hand? Let's say we kept this. You have 2 lands and a way to get a mana. Enters tapped unless you control. Alright. So, boop, would enter tapped. Ta-da! Next turn. Swamp. Tap that, or this. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle, create a food. Add a token. Boop. We'll put the food over there. We will. View library, we need we're gonna put a Fortista. Close and shuffle, this will go into our graveyard. And that was the turn, that was turn 2. We can also just poop out a little witch's oven over here. Our commander is a 3-drop, so we'll be able to do that next turn. Because we have this forest. So now, whenever we sack a food, we'll make a squirrel. We have a food. Fantastic. Alrighty, alrighty, alrighty. How do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? How do we want to do this? We're actually just going to do this. We would pass the turn, and then we would... At the end step, we would sacrifice the food in order to make a squirrel. Ta-da! And then we would go to our turn. We could do this. We can do this. So here, we can tap, put out a Greta, and then we can just kind of just pass turn, no big... Oh wait, we would have a food from her entering. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oops, pulling shuffle. I wanted to add a token, a food. This food will come over here. Now, we have card advantage. So we would go, and then we would tap these 2 in order to draw an extra card, put this away, and we make another token. Because we sacrifice food. And go to our turn. We are now at turn 6. Hazel. We'll assume that all of our opponents have not conceded yet to our fearful. How many forests do we have? Oh, we have 3 forests. Actually, let's do this. Let's do this. We'll do boop. Make a food off of that. Let's see what else we're gonna do. Let's do this. So now, when our foods or our squirrels die, let's tap this, sack a squirrel, everybody would take one to make a food. And then we could pass through. We've got some blockers. We've got some blockers here. We got 3 blockers here. And then we could tap food to that to draw a card. Everybody would take one again. And we'd make another squirrel. A lot of cycling around. And then we would go to our turn. Ooh, hoo, 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 hoo. We're going to assume, once again, that they have not conceded to our might, which is foolish on their part, of course. We'll just do little bats. No big deal. No, fine. Fine. But you know what? We're going to tap that. We're going to kill that. Everybody would lose a life here. Everybody would lose a life here. We would make a food. And everybody would lose a life from bats. Then we would, once again, everybody would lose a life here. Everybody would lose a life here. And we would make a squirrel and draw a card. Everybody would lose another life from a token entering the battlefield. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Alright, our turn. Oh my god. That's good. That's good. Well, it's fine. It's fine. We'll tap this. Everybody will lose 1. It's fine. Fine. We will make a food. That's probably not as fine. And then we'll also make a clue. It's probably not as fine as you would like for it to be. And we will make a treasure, which is also probably not fine. And everybody will have taken from the squirrel dying 2, and then from these tokens 3. So everybody would have just taken 5. Everybody would have just taken 5 damage. And then why not use a treasure? Oh, it's the Q treasure too. Everybody will take 1 and 2. And we'll just do this one, right? This one's fine. It's fine. And we'll get rid of a food, right? A food to draw a card. Everybody will take 1 and 2. Fine. It's fine. Because we did a food, we'll make a scroll. Everybody will take 1. These things are all fine. These things are all fine. We just did the food dying. No, the squirrel dying. 2. 3, so 5. Then a food dying. 7. And a squirrel entering 8. 8 times 3. We just did 24 damage in a turn. We just did 28 damage in a turn. That's a lot of damage. Holy shit. And we could do more. Yeah, sure. You know, tap. Get rid of that food. Oh, everybody's gonna take 2. I'm gonna draw a card from that. I don't know if I drew a card from the last time I did it, and I really don't care. I didn't. I know I didn't, because that was what I drew for turn. So there's the card that we would have drawn for turn. And of course, we would have made a squirrel. Everybody's gonna take. What did I just say? 8. We just then did 10 from the food dying, and 11. 3 times. We just did 33 damage. All right, let's do 2. Let's do 2. Just, and that was with a iffy hand too. All right, we can't keep this one this time because of the one land. I also do not want to keep this because Cabal offers Bajuka Bog and 1 land. Just the album. All right, cool. What is happening? Alright. We will keep this just because we can. Alright, we'll draw a card for the beginning of the turn. We will start off with a forest, which will tap for a Gilded Goose. When it enters the battlefield, we will, of course, make a food token. Fear me, I have food. You can't do anything about it. on our next turn. That's really good. We'll tap that, or we'll bring that out. We don't have anything for 2. We do, however, have something for 3. So what we will do, what will we do? We'll hold off. We're not, actually, you know what? We won't hold off. We'll tap, we'll get rid of that. I forgot we have Commander. Let's put that right there. That's fantastic. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Alright, we will Cabal coffers it up. Not the greatest. We can simply go to pass the turn, right? It seems like we're not doing too much. We're gonna then do this, make a food on our opponent's end step, fear me. And we're gonna go to our next turn. That's not bad at all. Alright, so now we can start turning our foods into other things. What we'll do is tap, get rid of this food, which will make a squirrel. And we'll bring out Jaheira. So now our squirrels are helping us make mana. Alright. What can we do? I really don't want to do that Bajukabar. Token specifically do that. We're running out of, so we can make 3 black here, and then that can tap. We could do anything we wanted. I would say we would hold off. Again, do this. Make the food. Not do anything too crazy. We're just kind of taking it slow. We're taking it a little bit slow. Alright, not bad. Not great, but not bad. So now though I have green. This makes a squirrel, and I can play this one. So now we're doing stuff. Now we're doing stuff and things, alright? Undo that there. Let's just say by now we're good with pulling this out. We have, this now is a total of, wait, hold on. This is 5 mana. This is 5 green. 5 green, and that. We'll start making a squirrel every turn. For this, we have 4 black. We're just gonna do that. Actually, we're just gonna do that as a black. Just occasionally, nothing big. And then we would go to pass the turn, right? And then on the end step, we would do this, and we would make food. Gotta make food. The deck makes food. That's what it does. And then we would go to our next turn. So we're definitely going a lot slower than we did last time, right? Because we were at turn 8 before, doing like 11 friggin' damage. So we're a little bit slow. And that's okay. We also would have gotten a squirrel in our upkeep from the collector. Alright, so now we have this food. We can tap it for mana. So we can tap this for mana. Tap this for mana by sacking that. We'll get the squirrel. We have 2 mana. That's pretty cool. Isn't any color. Let's just assume we made black. And then we'll sacrifice the squirrel to draw a card. Oh! Before that, we would tap this for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. We'll do 8 green. Go down to 6 green for 5 black. 5 black, 6 green. 11, boop. We'll do that for 5. 5, 8. 8. And I did 11. 11. 11, 11, 11. 5, 8, 3. Boop. Squirrel. 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 Did these 3 squirrels exist before the... sure. Shamanic Revelation. Draw a card for each creature. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. We'll get rid of some cards. We're just gonna get rid of all the lands. There you go. Not bad. Not bad for a slow start. This turn, I'm debating doing silly things. Okay, so this has 1 more turn, or 2 more turns. So all my squirrels have +1/+1 right now, right? Right. How? Just put a lot of mana. Tap that. We have a lot of mana. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 mana. We have 10 mana left now. And I can forage twice. Right? Because forage requires you to exile 3 cards. So 10 mana will go down to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Player, can you put counters on everything? Is there any way to like mass put a +1? Because I am not going through this and putting. Or sacrifice 1 food. That's a good point. So we have 6 mana left. Make a food. And then we'll forage that one with 2 more mana. Go down to 2. 3 counters on everything. Except it's really 6. Oh, and 2 foods. So the last 2 mana will be the other food. So 8 counters. We just made these 9/9s. 9/9s that are gonna, and we dealt 2 damage to each opponent at least because of the squirrels. Because of the foods. And we're gonna swing for almost 90 friggin'. Yeah, squirrel food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Almost 70 damage with just these guys. We also had Threshold at one point, but, you know, whatever. Squirrels we control have target trample, give squirrel trample and +2/+2. So we're not going to attack with this one or this one. So we'll tap 2 of these squirrels. These squirrels will have trample. And +8/+8. This guy already has 5 plus 8 is 13. So 13. These were 9s, these are 11, 22, plus 13, 25. 25 trample. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus 45 non-trample? And that was again with a slow start. So, needless to say, I think the deck does very well. This was a lot of fun to put together. I love when people come and throw suggestions out. Special shout out to Mox Periodot, who was in the chat helping me out with a bunch of different cards. Mick Miyagi also did Suggest an Earthcraft. I didn't put that in there because it's like over $100 and I just don't think a lot of people are gonna feasibly be able to run that. I tried to do something with cards that are easily replaceable. I don't think there's anything quite like in Earthcraft, so I kind of struggled with putting that in the deck. Meanwhile, like, you could replace any of these lands. Like, you could run this with 38 basic lands if you absolutely had to. There's nothing in there that's like, oh, the deck's not going to work if you don't have this card in it. Winds up currently at $540. Some of that is probably going to be high prices due to the set being new and some other things. I'm sure prices will fluctuate as things go, so who knows, maybe by the time you're watching this later on YouTube, the prices have changed, maybe gone up, maybe gone down, I don't really know. But yeah, definitely make sure that you join me on Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Seth Cross, because we do these together. You can come, you can put your suggestions, get shouted out at the end or at the beginning, who knows. I also do want to do a special shout out for Zabiff. Zabiff is a regular in the Discord, which you can join in the description in the video, or via the link in the video description. She has been subscribed using her Prime subscription for 27 months. Holy crap, that's almost 3 freaking years. In 6 more months, that's 3 years. That's insane. So I just want to do a very special shout out to Zabiff. I really do appreciate your support. That's been awesome. Just thank you very much. I know I'm not like the biggest streamer or YouTuber or anything like that, but I have a lot of fun with this. I hope y'all have a lot of fun. That's honestly the main goal to me making content in general, is that we all kind of enjoy this game together. So if you have done that, I would also really appreciate if you leave a like and a subscribe for this channel and on this video. You can comment down below on what you thought about the deck, about the cards I put in, cards I didn't put in. I answer to a lot of people who ask questions. If you ask for deck lists out of the gameplay VODs, I try to get even the people who play the decks, if I don't have their deck list, obviously. I try to get them to post them too, just so that you can see the deck list if you get interested in them. But yeah, I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Remember, gaming is for everyone, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.